Political trouble in Mexico. 8 of the country's 11 Supreme Court justices say they will step down rather than stand for election.
In a move that has sparked street protests by the opposition and diplomatic tension, Mexico is set to become the world's only country to allow voters to choose all judges at every level starting next year. The statement says 8 of 11 Supreme Court justices, including the president of the court, Pena, decided not to seek election in June 2025, adding that most of the resignations would take effect next August.
Mexico added an amendment allowing for judges to be elected by popular vote instead of being appointed. But this has caused quite the controversy, with many Mexican citizens saying it threatens separation of power.
8 of the country's 11 Supreme Court judges have already said they won't stand for re-election, effectively resigning.
These sweeping reforms that have been brought in Mexico, affecting 7,000 judges, all of whom were previously appointed, nearly all of whom will now be elected. A very controversial move by the governing party, and one confirmed by the incoming president.
As you talk to investors in Mexico, how concerned are they about some of the issues you identified, like judicial reform, for example?
These really are front and center of investors' minds. So the justice reform will mean that judges are now elected, and so businesses worry that those judges could be bought or influenced by the government in particular cases.
This comes after Mexico's Congress passed an initiative requiring all judges to be elected. Previously, the Supreme Court's justices were selected by the Senate.
The announcement comes as the Supreme Court prepares to consider a proposal to invalidate the election of judges and magistrates. President Judicial says the court lacks the authority to reverse the constitutional reform approved by Congress.
The Supreme Court dissenters are backed by more than 200 judges and nearly 400 magistrates from across the country, who say they too will not stand for re-election if voting as scheduled goes ahead next June.
This has caused quite the controversy for citizens both in and out of the country.
They say that this now makes those judges much more reliant on the political system and much more reliant on being part of a political party or having political connections.
Protesters fear the new system will leave judges open to bribery and intimidation by the country's powerful drug cartels. Mexico's neighbors have also expressed their concern about the proposed measures.
Citizens protesting the judicial reform that now allows judges to be voted in as opposed to being appointed.
I believe the direct election of judges represents a risk to the functioning of Mexico's democracy.
Protesters, many who are judicial workers, say this will create corruption, as most new judges are likely to go along with any presidential executive order or laws passed by the Morena party-controlled Congress. Some protesters even blocking traffic at Boda. Similar protests also happened at the Paso del Norte Bridge.
The grave danger right now, in my opinion, with these extremely toxic reforms that have been proposed and are beginning to be implemented, such as the election of judges, is that it does not bode well for other strategic sectors. We may see in the future an attempt to re-expropriate or renationalize sectors like telecommunications, like media, or even strip away the autonomy of the central bank. These were unheard of speculations 10 years ago, and yet now some may actually believe that the government could do all this.